Today on the Locked On Hornets podcast, we talk about the Kawhi Leonard situation and find the local angle with it. PJ Washington signed a contract extension. Who on the Hornets roster right now would be worthy of that type of contract extension? And then we discuss some of the changes to the All-Star game. That's all today, Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods. That includes YouTube. Doug, tell the people why we're laughing.
We're laughing because in the last episode, we had David Walker on, and I had the triple box so you could see David. I had that coming out of the intro. I had that set up. And I forgot to change it because David Walker is unfortunately not here today. He'll be back with us next week. But I still had it up. And I was laughing because I looked at the monitor that I have in front of me that shows, and I saw the 3-box, and I reacted as if, like, if you rewind this on YouTube, you can see my reaction as if it wasn't anyone's fault except for mine. Like, I reacted as if, like, who did that? I was like, no, you did that.
It was almost scared. It was almost that it surprised you, like a ghost popped up. Go ahead and send some of the screenshots of Doug's face on the YouTube comment section. We would love to see it. That's Doug Branson, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Also doing some other stuff, which I guess we can't announce yet, but he's doing other things.
You know what? I'm ready to announce it. I'm ready to.
Are you ready to announce it?
Yeah,
okay.
Because I was going to put a tweet out. And the announcement is, ready? The fantasy draft that I did on the last show got a grade of B according to ESPN's draft grades.
I can't stand you right now. I can't stand you.
No, for real.
Really
Here's the announcement. Okay. The announcement is, I'll do the announcement in segment 3, so stay tuned. There you go. That's a tease.
That announcement I can actually get behind. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. And of course, this episode is it's true. You weren't telling a lie there. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season, it's here. It's absolutely here. New customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. Download FanDuel.com to get started. There's a game going on right now. I'm missing it. I'm watching my fantasy football team in action. Saquon Barkley, baby. Can he do it again? Anyways, we'll not talk about football at all because it's the Locked On Hornets podcast. It's an NBA team. Speaking of the NBA, boy, oh boy, some of the owners might be sweating a little bit because there's an investigation going on. How about Pablo Torre continuing to just find all of these stories? And, I mean, do some pretty incredible journalistic work for The Athletic that he was able to parlay the Pablo Torre Finds Out podcast into, I guess, this partnership with The Athletic. And he's only gotten better and better as the shows and the pods have gone on. And so Pablo Torre Finds Out, hosted by, of course, Pablo Torre, tweeted out just yesterday, September 3rd, exclusive. Kawhi Leonard signed a $28 million endorsement deal for a, quote, no-show job, end quote, with a fraudulent tree planting company funded by $50 million from Clippers owner Steve Ballmer, according to documents obtained by Pablo Torre, quote, unquote. It was to circumvent the salary cap, an inside source says. Okay, a lot going on there. First of all, circumventing the salary cap is a big no-no.
Big no-no.
Yeah, big no-no. If the Clippers are found guilty of this, if the NBA conducts an investigation and they find that there is enough evidence to punish the Clippers for having circumvented the salary cap to the tune of about $7 million a year, $28 million total, as you just read, there are a couple of different things that could happen. You could lose a first-round pick. You could have the Joe Smith penalty and the Joe Smith penalty because of something very similar with what Joe Smith was handed under the table by Glenn Taylor, the owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Well,
Stearns,
almost handed under the table. What happened in that situation is they gave him a bunch of small deals with a wink-wink promise when they were able to get his bird rights, that they would give him a lot more money, which they couldn't do to acquire him in free agency. And then before that big deal came down, I believe it was before the big deal came down, that's when it was all discovered, and they got 5 first-round picks taken away from them. Their owner was suspended, the coach was the general manager, Kevin McHale, was suspended. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it was. In fact, David Stern fined Glenn Taylor and the organization $3.5 million. The franchise forfeited 5 future first-round picks, 2 of which were later returned to the Wolves. And there was a 1-year suspension for then owner Glenn Taylor and top front office executive Kevin McHale. They rescinded Smith's years accrued as a Timberwolf, thereby nullifying any possible bird rights. Smith became a free agent and joined the Pistons for $2.3 million, which, I mean, crazy just to go revisit that. Like, we all know about the Joe Smith situation, but to go back and read just how punitive it is to get caught circumventing the salary cap, it's wild. And that's why I heard Kirk Goldsberry on the Zach Lowe podcast today talk about how, look, it's actually not like every team does this. I know the conspiracy starts to run wild, and at least this was Kirk Goldsberry's point. I know the conspiracy starts to run wild with, well, this is how everybody operates. This is cycling. Everybody is blood doping. The top 10 people, the top 10 teams, they're all doing this. But Kirk's point was they're actually not all doing it. He was discussing how he's not naive to understand that there were some teams deciding to do this in different ways here and there, but the punishment for this is punitive enough to where they're scared to death. They're scared to death to exercise those types of options. But Clippers owner Steve Ballmer is worth $150 billion, okay? Just to give you some reference here, Michael Jordan, not one of the richer owners in the NBA during his tenure as majority stakes owner, was worth but even now, his net worth is over $3 billion. So the only difference between Steve Ballmer and Michael Jordan is $147 billion. So, like, all of that I throw to you, and it's really interesting. We can go through some of the details on this, but what are your thoughts on the Kawhi Leonard situation?
Yeah, your point stands, because people would be surprised how much more a billion is than a million. It's one letter, but it's an incredible amount of money. To the point, your point being that really money is no object to Steve Ballmer. So $48 million. Oh, so by the way, you said $24 million. We've got exclusive reporting from John Corrales of Locked On Celtics, writing for Boston Sports Journal, that it might be 48. It might be $48 million. It might be double that.
So it was originally 28. So now you're telling me it's 48. Interesting. I had not seen that.
Yes.
Okay.
And now I realize that 48 is not twice as much as 28. So I'm sorry, it's not double, but pretty significant raise there to 48 million.
So billion has a B, million has an M. 48 million is not double. Got it. Sorry.
I was told there would be no math. So I will link the Boston Sports Journal article so you can read for yourself. Anyway, what does this have to do with the Hornets? We are finally here. The owners are going to be pissed about this. I don't think the owners are scared that they're going to get caught. Well, maybe James Dolan is, but I think most of the owners are not scared. I think most of the owners are pissed because they're going to be losing money off of this. Because think about, look, the Clippers are a taxpayer. So this was money that is not going to be distributed to the rest of the teams, and so they're going to be upset about that. The Hornets, they don't have a rich ownership group that can pull these kinds of shenanigans, or at least if they did, it would be a significant chunk of change out of their portfolio. And so I just think like stuff like this puts markets that have divided ownership or smaller markets at an even more disadvantage. You know, people like to talk about, well, Charlotte can't get free agents because, you know, the city's small, the team stinks, you know, LA, all the big cities, they're going to soak up all the free agents and all the trade requests. But like, if there's dealings like this, and it doesn't just have to be free agency. These players are now free agency's dead. Now all these players are just commanding, you know, hey, move me here, move me there. But if move me here, move me there is coming with these backdoor discussions for tree planting companies that are giving you millions of dollars, like Charlotte doesn't stand a chance. And I'll say, if you're a fan of Charlotte, you should be asking yourself, like, if this is more widespread and Charlotte's not doing it, then what am I doing paying all this money for season tickets? If my team doesn't even have a shot at a Kawhi Leonard because $48 million, they can't even get close to that. Like, what am I doing? So Adam Silver has to take this seriously, because just like the betting stuff, this strikes at the heart of the fan who says, is this legitimate, what I'm watching, or not?
And what's unfortunate is that when the team is punished, the fan is also punished in all of this, because if you have five first-round picks taken away, well, that does a lot to you in terms of being able to win basketball games. And if you don't win basketball games, and as a fan, then you just it's really tough to still watch that product every single day. Nobody wins in this situation unless you don't get caught, and that's the risk you take. If you get caught, my God, it's a really hefty fine. It's a hefty everything that Adam Silver and then David Stern could come down on you with. Now Adam Silver. So I guess my question is just to continue to find the local angle, right? I've seen some people say, like Crown Club, right? Crown Club doing great work with the fans as always. I saw Crown Club say the Hornets aren't cheating. And remember, Mitch Kupchak was famous for being a rule follower,
Yes.
Not even tampering, which everyone tampers, right? If we go back to my cycling example, when everybody was blood doping and it was the top 10 finishers of the Tour de France, all of them were dirty.
Wow.
Right? So all of the teams are dirty in terms of tampering with free agents, except for Mitch Kupchak. He was the only one. And so like okay, all right, let's not be such a square here, Mitch Kupchak. Let's actually break the rules and try to find some edges everywhere in here or there. But the fine for tampering is not anywhere close to what it could be that the Clippers are going to experience. And you could ask, well, why didn't MJ do this? Because you give him more endorsement deals, which is legal, right? Like, could you just give him a Jordan endorsement on some of these free agents that you could never get before? We also know MJ was particularly cheap. Jay Williams went on one of the dumbest soliloquies I've ever heard, in fact, in my entire life, about how Michael Jordan was actually a good owner because he turned a profit despite a team losing. That was one of the weirder things I've ever heard. That's a real thing. It was terrible. But so one, MJ didn't have the motivation, but also probably didn't have the money. And Doug, like according to reported net worths for Gabe Plotkin and Rick Schnall, the best information I could find on Schnall is that he's got like a $5 million net worth, which I it's going to be more than that now. But Gabe Plotkin was like $500 million. That's just think about 50 million, right? If it's 48 as what John Corrales is writing about, that's not 1.5% or whatever it would be of MJ's net worth, which was billions. And essentially doesn't even show up. Like it doesn't even show up on Steve Ballmer's percentage. If you're talking about what 48 million is of 150 billion, what 48 million is of 3 billion, what 48 million is of 400 million, right? Like, I guess all that to say, I don't even know if they could do it. I don't want them to do it. I don't think it's rampant. I think you have a specific case here, especially with what Kawhi Leonard's uncle was asking for. There were reports about them asking for everything illegal. Like, it's kind of a crazy situation.
Uncle Dennis.
Dennis.
There's a big difference between Steve Ballmer and Michael Jordan, and that difference is that Michael Jordan was on the inside. He wanted to be in the boardroom. He wanted to be in the CBA negotiations. He wanted to have influence within the league. And when you want to have influence within the league, what's the last thing you want to do is cheat and then get caught and be an outcast of the league. Steve Ballmer comes in from the outside. In fact, he comes from Silicon Valley, which I don't know if you've caught a couple of these Silicon Valley guys in the news, but these guys think they're gods. They think they're above humanity, and they have enough money to feel like a god. And when you have a God complex, sometimes you do. People are going to look at this and go, how in the world could they do something so blatant? And the answer is because they didn't think they were going to get caught. That's always the answer, because these people have God complexes.
Yeah, that's right. All right, we spent a lot of time on this. It's probably not as organized as I'd like to be, but it's a wild situation, and I'm interested to see what happens. By the way, the John Corrales article, as I have pulled up here, was finding some notes on it. Really awesome stuff. Shout out to a Locked On brother and John Corrales for writing what he did on this situation. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
Speaking of millions of dollars, PJ Washington just signed a contract, a 4-year, $90 million contract extension with the Dallas Mavericks. Let's revisit that trade and discuss a few things. Coming up next, LOH. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season, it is here, folks, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. That's what I'm doing. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays or Thursdays. This week, Fridays, sometimes Mondays. It's so many days. NFL, it's king, and it's on all the time. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. More Locked On Hornets ahead. PJ Washington, remember him? Used to be like my favorite player, and then he got traded to the Dallas Mavericks for a top 2 protected pick in 2027. And I deemed that, you deemed that, most Hornets fans really liked that deal. It made a ton of sense for the Hornets at the time. They were finally pivoting in a different direction, having traded Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward. PJ Washington was really the last domino of that specific core to fall. And it got you the best asset that the Hornets have outside of their own draft picks. It's an impressive one. Depending on what happens with this Miami pick, that could easily pass what they have in Dallas. But they traded PJ Washington a year and a half ago, closer to the deadline, to Dallas for that top 2 protected pick. And PJ signed, I forget what the contract was for him. What was it, like $13 million a year, $15 million a year, something like that? Anyways, he signs a 4-year, $90 million extension with Dallas. It's a lot of money. And PJ was a huge part of that finals run. He shot 38% from 3 last year, where he had been shooting well early in his career, kind of took a dip and then got right back on the horse last season. I think improved his defense. There were all sorts of differing opinions on him, but really became recognized for how good of a defender he was, became a much better rebounder down in Dallas, and earned this type of contract. Would have gotten it somewhere else probably had Dallas not given it to him. What are your thoughts on the PJ contract, Doug? And, it's pretty easy to find the local angle here with a player that used to play for us.
Yeah, I still love the trade. I don't think there are any regrets there. They got assets, and that lands him in the DeAndre Hunter, Aaron Gordon, Kyle Kuzma, KCP, Marcus Smart. That was a veteran deal. Vucevic, veteran deal. Dylan Brooks, Cam Johnson. I mean, that feels like where he is, and it wasn't a foregone conclusion in Dallas that he was going to be extended, I don't think, because of some of the moves they made around the bigs and different things like that. That it didn't have to happen, and so they clearly value him there, and it gives them a lot of versatility. You've got Cooper Flagg. He may play small forward, and then you've got Anthony Davis, who doesn't want to play center. So it's like, is he going to come off? Is PJ coming off the bench? Are they going to? I don't know what they're going to do. Anyway, that's enough about the Dallas Mavericks. You have an interesting question in here. Which players would get the 4-year, $90 million deal? Explain your curiosity.
Well, just one. They got rid of a player that actually played well on a finals team and got rewarded for it. Those are the types of players that you would like to have in the Hornets organization. They have a top 2 protected pick. I still don't mind making that trade just for what it's worth, because they needed to go into a specific direction.
Because they weren't a finals team.
They weren't a finals team. They need to go in a different direction. They needed assets. They were in asset collection mode. So my phrasing and my framing of that isn't so to second guess that trade. It's just it is interesting that type of player used to be here, right? That valuable of a player on a finals team used to be here. And so who are the types of guys that could get that kind of contract or way more? LaMelo is currently playing on one. Brandon Miller, we fully expect to get that. Miles Bridges, it's damn similar, I guess, in descending value, but it's pretty much right on the money in terms of annual value that you're getting with Miles and PJ. And I guess other than that, Doug, Colin Sexton, $18 million a year now. I guess could parlay an excellent year into something crazy, but even the cap goes up, so it's kind of hard to compare apples to apples. I just find it interesting. PJ certainly would be one of the higher paid players on this team, with nobody else really even seeking that kind of value out there so far.
Yeah, Sexton's going to be really interesting because you have Cam Thomas over in Brooklyn, someone that's viewed as a volume scorer, although Cam Thomas can shoot from outside. Colin Sexton can, but he just doesn't do it at a high volume. But Cam Thomas, scoring only is the reputation, and he disputes that and tries to fight Zach Lowe online about it.
He did, yeah.
But he tries to get a contract from the Nets, who have nobody. The Nets have nobody. And they're like, nah, we're not going to even give you a contract. You can just sign the qualifying offer and have your no trade clause, and we're probably going to lose you for nothing. All that to say that the value of one-sided players, particularly one-sided offensive players right now, is wildly out of touch with what those players think their value should be. And so Colin Sexton, I think it'll be interesting to see the defensive improvements that he makes this year, maybe proving out that he can be a both sides of the ball player, which would definitely help the Hornets out. And I think potentially allow him to command either a contract from Charlotte or a trade to somewhere that could value his services through the next couple of years. So, no, I don't think it's out of the question at all for a moderate salary increase for Colin Sexton to be up above P.J. Washington. For sure.
Yeah, there shouldn't be, I guess not to frame it again in a way of where I think the Hornets made a mistake, because I don't think so. But is there any legitimate reason to say, hey, I do value that pick a lot. It is still pretty much the best asset that they have. Again, that's not one of their own selections, but that's the type of player that you would love to have, right? It just, if PJ had never played for the Hornets and had never done what he did here, where he was such a polarizing player for so many Hornets fans, and you brought him in on that contract after he did what he did with Dallas, I think we'd be happy with it, right? I think we'd be happy with bringing in a versatile defender that shot 38% from three last year. And now you introduce the fact that, oh, wait, he actually used to be here. And now it just starts to get interesting to me, where is it more valuable to have just had that player that saw those types of heights on this roster instead of having the top two protected pick? And then we introduce, would he have ever realized that potential here with Charlotte? Because it did feel like PJ wasn't exactly thrilled to be in a Hornets uniform. I guess it's just kind of frustrating to some degree as well that we have these types of players that do flourish for winning teams. Like, it'd be different if it was a bad team, but it wasn't a bad team.
Well, this is a problem when you don't win. When you don't win for a sustained period of time, you are going to have players come through your system that need to be around winning basketball. That's the thing. It's why P.J. Washington is never going to be an all-star. He needs to have winning players around him to play at his peak, okay? And so, and I think even still, some of those inconsistencies in his game have shown up in Dallas too. So I don't think he necessarily transformed himself as a player. He's just playing around a lot. He's a good player playing around a lot of great players, and he needs that. Okay, so but this conversation is difficult to have, Walker, because we don't know what the Hornets are going to do with that pick. Because if we revisit this in July of 2027, and the Hornets use the Dallas pick and pick, somebody at 26 or 27, then I'm going to say, man, probably could have used that PJ Washington production better than whatever crapshoot this is, unless, this McNeely guy that they also took in the late first round, unless that guy pops, and then I'm going to be like, look, man, Jeff Peterson, do whatever you want, man. You're finding these gems. Keep on keeping on.
I guess the other way I guess I don't know what the end game is here. I just wanted to bring it up. I don't know what the end game of this question is. I did just find it interesting that PJ, such a polarizing guy, parlayed a contract dispute. Remember, we had to wait a long time before he got that contract.
So did Dallas, apparently.
Yeah, I guess so. Right. They had to figure it out. PJ's agent, is it his dad? Am I mistaken about that? I think that's right. But they waited around.
Kevin
and got
Bradbury of Lyft Sports Management.
What was it? Wasn't his dad? I forget. I know they lived in Dallas, but anyways, yeah. So maybe you trade the pick before you realize that, oh God, Dallas is just going to be awesome and they're going to hand you the 27th overall selection. And then if you trade it and parlay that into something, you almost have to capitalize on its value now before it starts to wane with Dallas's perceived success down the line, even though it's not a guarantee. All right, coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
All-Star changes. Again, the NBA is trying to fix the All-Star game. Did they finally do it this time? We'll talk about it coming up next. All right, Doug, we've had a bunch of changes to the NBA All-Star game because, well, it's been quite bad for a while. Players don't care. You're having half-court lobs and people don't like it, and media members, they go on their shows and say how terrible of a product it is. Well, they're trying a different strategy this go around. The NBA, the competition committee, was presented with the idea of three 8-man teams, 2 U.S. teams, 1 world team, and they'd be playing in a round-robin format, reported by Shams Charania of ESPN, and these would be 12-minute games, 3 of them with the undefeated team, if there is one, taking the title. The idea was presented by the NBA and the Players Union to the committee and received positive feedback, according to the report. Do you like it based on what you heard?
Who's on this competition committee? They're going to say yes to anything. I want these people to be my bank manager when I go for a loan. Like, they are just like, yes, stamp year after year now. I mean, we went from, you had captain's draft for a few years, Elam ending. They tried that. Then they went back to East and West. Then they went to the 14 mini tournament and 30-minute halftime, whatever that was. And then, or 30-minute, it wasn't even halftime. It was like final, whatever, right before the final period. And then this round robin tournament. So they'll say yes to anything. I love that. Love this?
Can I have a loan for this really interesting business? It's called Aspiration. Can I get $28 million?
We're going to plant. You know what's funny about the tree planting thing is I live in kind of like a condo complex, and there's a program in the city of Nashville that will they give away trees and they'll plant them for you for free. For free. I don't know what this tree planting company is that can command $28 million. Anyhow, do I like this? No. It reminds me, the All-Star game now reminds me of my toilet. I have a toilet downstairs. Well, I should say I had a toilet downstairs. I had a toilet downstairs that had a little push button. When I moved into the house, all the toilets have push buttons. They don't have the little handle. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, weeks after we moved into the house, the push button started to act up. And then I lifted, because I'm not going to call and spend $300 just for somebody to come out here. So I lifted that bad boy up. I looked at a couple of YouTube videos and I started to make my fix. And for a couple of weeks, it was working, purring like a kitten, working fine. And then all of a sudden, several weeks later, something else goes, and then another thing goes, and all of a sudden, it's like a game of mousetrap inside my toilet. I've got all these contraptions trying to lift a little, thing, so it's just high enough so that the water goes down, but then the thing comes back down. It was a real, what do they call it? It's a Rube Goldberg machine inside my toilet. And that's what the NBA has done with this All-Star game. They just keep tinkering. It reminds me of NASCAR did this with their All-Star format and every other format. You know who cares about NASCAR these days? Not a lot of people. And I think the same thing is going to be true for All-Star Weekend, unfortunately. They have just they need to scrap this whole thing. And at the end of my toilet story is that I finally gave up and we just remodeled the whole half bath and said, forget it. Get the toilet out of here. Get the sink out of here. Get a priest in here, because this place is haunted, and that's what the NBA needs to do.
Something a little more permanent. And you know what? Maybe you didn't like it at first, but eventually you came around on it. You know what? This All-Star game, it reminds me of my aquarium, my big aquarium. And the reason...
hopefully you don't do in your aquarium what I was doing into my toilet.
No, there's no button, there's no duty, there's none of that. There is some duty from the fish because they do. No, for sure, there's absolutely quite a bit. But I bought quite a few gobies because they're my favorite fish, and I put them in there. And the original gobies, the original Gobi Martin, if you will.
Gobi Martin.
The original Gobies, they were treating the other Gobies badly. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is going to be terrible. What am I going to do? Do I have to get another tank to get the new Gobies out and then leave the old Gobies alone so everybody can live peacefully? Except all I did was just let it wait. Let it simmer for a little bit. And then it was okay.
Oh.
Right? Like everything was fine. They figured everything out and it was okay because they let it breathe. And all the NBA is doing is tinkering with it every single year. Every single year because they get this backlash of how terrible it is. Okay, you guys are right. Our bad. We'll change it. Do you like this one? Do you like this one? No. We hate this too. All right, we're going to change it. We're going to go back. We're going to change it. Just let it breathe for like a couple of years before you have this monster change into something every single season. Just let it sit down for a little while.
Yeah, because every single drastic format change is an admission of guilt. It's an admission that, oops, we messed it up again. And what about our political, cultural climate suggests that apologizing for anything or changing anything is favored by the public? I don't think it is. It's universally going to be booed.
Stance.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
They honestly, like, I love the idea of USA versus world. They should have done that 10 years ago when all these international players were first coming onto the scene and revolutionizing the NBA game. They should have done it then and kept doing it on and on and on. And then finally, this to me is the perfect signal of a dying thing. When people scream, do the thing every year after year, do the thing. And then they finally do the thing. They do it in a weird, like, half measure. That is just, to me, like, perfect example of something, a business that is about to go out of business. Hey, just give me a regular hamburger. Nah, I got to do X, Y, and Z. No, give me a regular. Fine, we'll give you a regular hamburger, but it comes on like a donut bun. All right, fine. You're about to go out of business. I know you're about to go out of business. This is over. That's my final analogy. But this is horrible. I hate it. I know David Walker probably hates it too.
Oh man, poor
just
David.
Give me USA
All-star
World straight up. Come on.
It just won't go back to the old days. Just a couple of actual things, not aquarium or toilet related, about this. Look, the idea is to replicate what hockey did with the Four Nations tournament. Yeah. And it was such a success. And then people used that as this reason to insult the NBA rather than just celebrating hockey for some reason because they needed to disparage another league. But that was the idea. The Four Nations tournament was so awesome. Everybody freaking loved it. Hey, what if we adopted that strategy and just used that for the All-Star game? That's great, except a couple of things. It's Four Nations. It's not the world against the U.S. So when you have people from all sorts of other different countries that go to their native country and play for a gold medal with other people from that country, all we're doing is just lumping all those people into the same bucket and saying, hey, you're the same. You guys hate the U.S. Hey, you Spaniard, you Frenchman, you all
Slovenian.
of you. Yeah, Slovenians, all of you guys. You guys are the same, right? Well, you'll just play against the U.S. No, like, are they going to have the pride for the world compared to the pride that they would have for their country? That's a question I have. And the other thing is, what makes the Four Nations tournament so great is it's so infrequent. Are we going to do this every year? And if we do this every year, does the fact that we do it every season still carry the allure that the Four Nations tournament does that isn't every single season? So those are a couple.
They
of
want to make
concerns
this. I
that
mean,
have.
Adam Silver wants to make basketball like soccer. I don't know why. Yeah, I mean, you make a great point. Like, do this World Cup style and say, all right, we're going to do qualifiers as part of the All-Star weekend for 3 years, and then in every fourth year we're going to do an NBA World Cup. I mean, come on, just call me up, Adam. We'll talk about it. Floor is lava. Floor is lava on Saturday night. World Cup every 4 years. Come on, let's get it done.
Right. Is Giannis going to feel the same type of chemistry alongside Luka and share their love of basketball by helping the world beat the United States? Or is it not the same because Giannis isn't playing with a fellow person from Greece? Like, that's just what it is. Grecian? Yeah, Grecian. Anyways.
Grecian.
All right, that'll do it. Thanks for making Locked On Hornets your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast. And that does include YouTube. There's Doug Branson. Check out his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Also, follow him on Twitter for a possible announcement. You might be putting it out there. You also have an announcement
I
here.
promise. Oh, yeah, that's right. I promised the people the announcement. Here's the announcement. I am part of the team that is putting together Yahoo Sports Daily. You can catch it on yahoosports.tv, hosted by the great Jason Fitz and Caroline Fenton.
Very cool.
Great team. And I've been at it for about a week now. It's a great show. So check it out there. We're going to be up on all the fast channels soon enough. But yeah, it's been a great. I just helped prep an interview with Ice Cube. That's all over their YouTube channels on Yahoo. So go check out the Ice Cube interview. Yeah, there you go, Cube.
That's awesome. Yeah, still by far the most famous person I've ever interviewed. By the way, was Ice Cube. Not even close. This is an awesome deal. Just real quickly, like this is going to be a morning show format where people get to go check it out. And here you are as the
9 to 11 Eastern.
Do we call you an executive producer? Is that your title? Do we call you associate producer? Like,
yeah, that would be more accurate. So, yeah.
But this
Part of
is
the team.
your this is kind of your thing, right? Like this is your baby, so to speak. You are working on this in a really creative way, which it uses that part of your brain, which you have a very good part of your brain in that creative space. And so I'm happy for you because Jason Fitz, awesome personality. In my handful of times talking with him, I've heard nothing but great things. I'm excited for this show. I'm glad you're on it, man. So I'm glad that your talents are being put to use.
I am very excited for where this show's going. It's only, I think it's only like 3 or 4 weeks old, so we've got a lot of
awesome
got
stuff.
a lot of things to really grow with. It's great.
All right. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Sports Radio 92.7 FM. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.